Deep in the whispering woods, the sun peeked through the trees. It painted playful patterns on the forest floor. Two sisters, Mira and Lina, lived in a small cottage nestled among the trees. The cottage was warm and inviting. It smelled of fresh bread and wood smoke. Lina was always busy, keeping their home tidy. Mira, however, felt restless. She longed for adventure. Mira often wandered into the woods. She felt a strange pull towards the heart of the forest. It was a place she wasn't supposed to go, but something drew her in like a moth to a flame. Lately, strange things had begun to happen around Mira. When she was angry, embers glowed around her hands. When she was sad, the fireplace crackled fiercely. She knew it was wrong. This wasn't normal. Fear tightened in her chest. What would Lina say if she knew? Mira hid her secret deep inside. She practiced controlling the embers when Lina wasn't around. Each flare, each spark, frightened and excited her. What did it all mean? One cool evening, a knock echoed through the cottage. Lina, startled, opened the door. A tall woman stood on their doorstep. She wore a long, dark cloak. Her eyes were sharp and calculating. This was Velra. She had come from a distant land. Velra knew about Mira's secret. Velra's voice was smooth like honey. She spoke of Mira's gift, her destiny. Mira listened, her heart pounding. Who was this woman, and how did she know so much? That night, Mira had a dream. She saw a powerful king wreathed in flames. He called to her, his voice echoing with ancient magic. He spoke of a forgotten power, a power that slept within her. When Mira woke up, she was breathless. The dream felt real. The king's fiery eyes seemed to burn into her soul. She couldn't shake the feeling that she knew him, but how? Lina noticed the change in Mira. She was distant, lost in thought. Lina tried to talk to her, but Mira pushed her away. Lina's heart ached for her sister. What was happening to Mira? Lina knew something was wrong. She just knew it. But Mira wouldn't open up to her. It was like a wall had formed between them. Section 6. The Price of Power. Velra began to train Mira in secret. She taught her how to control the flames, how to harness their power. Mira grew stronger every day, but so did the fire within her. It threatened to consume her, to burn away everything she held dear. Velra demanded more from Mira. She pushed her harder and harder. Mira felt herself changing, becoming something she didn't recognize. Section 7. A Protector's Stand. Lina had seen enough. She confronted Velra, her voice trembling with anger. She demanded to know what Velra was doing to her sister. Velra just smiled, a cold and calculating smile. She told Lina that Mira was destined for greatness, but that Lina wouldn't understand. Lina's heart pounded. She knew she had to protect Mira, even if it meant standing up to this strange, powerful woman. Section 8. Secrets in the Flames. That night, the fire in the hearth roared to life. Flames danced and swirled, forming images in the air. Mira gasped. She recognized the figures in the fire. They were her parents. They were speaking to her, their voices echoing from a distant past. They told her a story that made her blood run cold, a story of betrayal, of a family legacy shrouded in darkness, and of a power that could destroy everything. Section 9. The Awakening Begins. Mira stared at her reflection in the flames. Gone was the scared girl she once was. In her place stood a young woman with fire in her eyes. The Ember King's power was awakening within her, and she knew with a certainty that chilled her to the bone that her life would never be the same. The future stretched before her, a path shrouded in both darkness and light. Which path would she choose, and what would become of her sister, her protector, in the fiery storm that was to come? The dream was different this time. Mira stood on a battlefield. Ash covered the ground like snow. Burning towers collapsed in the distance. Soldiers screamed. At the center stood a man in a black crown, his chest burning like a furnace. The Ember King. But this time, she saw through his eyes. He held out his hand and screamed in rage, "You lied to me." Before him knelt a woman in golden armor. She wept as he burned her. Mira woke up, heart pounding, sweat cold on her skin. Her hands were glowing red, and the room around her was smoking.
You saw it, didn't you?
The war, Mira whispered. The betrayal. They used him.
They promised him peace, then tried to bind his power for themselves.
And he destroyed them.
He answered them.
Why am I seeing what he saw?
Because you're not just a girl anymore. His flame is waking inside you.
You mean he's inside me?
Not all of him, but enough to remember. And one day, maybe more.
You didn't tell me this would happen.
You never asked.
This wasn't wildfire, this was a spell.
Someone inside the village is using red fire.
We've been blind.
No, we've been watched. You're not from here.
No,
What are you?
I don't burn. I think the fire wants me gone.
Or the fire fears her.
He's ready. Multiple voices, we burned. We rise, Mira will break, or she'll join. Either way, the throne returns.
Mira.
Lightning struck the top of the tower. The wind howled through the mountain passes. The trees bent backward, leaves ripping free like panicked birds. Something ancient had woken. Mira sprinted up the path, cloak-torn mud on her face. The visions had gotten worse. The king's voice was louder. Her hands kept burning even when she tried to stop. She had to warn them.
She fed it. You. She let it grow. He pointed at Mira. No, she did. You opened the seal. That you were the only vessel. You thought the fire came to you alone?
I didn't mean to.
It doesn't matter now. Inflame a trap circle.
I was made for this.
Not because she fought it, because it feared her.
Finish it. You were born to burn.
Burn him. Burn them all. Thank you.
Not from Errol, from under the floor. The runes weren't his, they were Velra's. The whole tower was her trap. The crystal exploded in light.
At last. At last the gates are open.
Get behind me.
You are not of this world.
No, I was made to end yours.
As fire rained across the old kingdoms, the last circle of seers met in secret. They could not kill the Ember King. His body turned to ash and rose again, so they created something new. A child of light and steel, one immune to fire, one who could bind it. Ashra was born in a pool of moon water and silver root. Not a witch, not a weapon, a seal made flesh.
I was made to.
Stop! If you seal him, I burn too!
No, you're hiding inside her, like a coward. You think I served him? I hate him. You brought him back. No, I brought you here. I needed someone strong enough to hold him, and someone stronger to kill him. Now, Ashra, seal them both before the fire spreads.
Velra was the first witch who ever fought the Ember King. She lost everything. She bound her soul to the ash tree, lived for centuries, waiting to finish what she started. She used Mira to bring the king close again. Now she wants to kill them both, together.
There's another way. Don't kill her.
There isn't. Burn with me, girl. Burn the world.
I didn't want you to die.
I was never meant to live.
Gaunt and scorched, the walls held the heat like dying coals, and silence hung over everything, heavy as smoke. Mira sat beside what was left of Ashra, a faint circle of silver dust, glimmering like frost. She didn't cry, not yet. Lina sat across from her, bandaging Darius's arm. She'd torn her cloak into strips, her hands still shaking. No one had spoken in an hour. Then Darius said she was something else. Mira nodded. She wasn't just made to fight the fire, she said. She was made to feel it. She knew what it cost. Lina looked at her. She chose you. Mira didn't answer. She stared at the silver dust. Then she noticed something strange. a glint at the center of the ash. She reached out, brushing the remains carefully. Beneath it was a small charm, silver, shaped like a flame curled around a drop of water. When she touched it, it pulsed, once like a heartbeat, and in her head she heard Ashra's voice. Not the end, only the change. Later in the broken garden, Mira and Lina sat together. The stars were out. For once, no red glow behind them. "Why did she take my place?" Mira asked. Lina took a long breath. "Because you still had a choice. She didn't." Mira looked at her. "Did you ever want to run from all this?" Lina laughed softly. "All the time. But I stayed. Because someone had to protect people like you." Mira's voice echoed in the air. "Witches?" Lina responded, almost as if in disbelief. "Kids." They sat in silence again. Then Mira said quietly, "I think I'm not just linked to him." Lina turned. "I see things now," Mira whispered. "Not just visions, memories. A little girl, with silver eyes. Long before I was born. I think she was his daughter." Lina's voice was filled with curiosity. "You think you're—" Mira finished the thought. "A descendant. Maybe the last one." Twist. The Ember King did have a child before he fell. A child born of fire and light. She was taken from him. Hidden. Her blood passed down in secret. Mira is not just the vessel. She's the key. That night, Mira had another dream. Not of flame or death, but of a room lit by soft firelight. A woman sang quietly. A man held a baby, his eyes glowing red but his face gentle. He kissed the baby's forehead, then the door burst open. Swords, screams. The woman shouted, "Run!" And the baby's eyes, silver and red, looked up in silent fear. Mira woke up crying. Velra was gone by morning. Only a single message carved into the stone floor remained. "There is another seal. You are not free yet." The ruins were older than any map. Black stone arches bent under weight they hadn't held in centuries. The sky overhead was dark, clouds moving too fast, like the world was holding its breath. Mira, Lina, and Darius stood before a staircase carved into the rock, leading down, down into the earth. "Mira, this is it," Mira said, fingers brushing the stone. Darius asked, "How do you know?" "Mira, I don't," she said, "but something in me does." They descended slowly. The deeper they went, the warmer the air got. Not fire, not magic, breath. The ruins were alive. They reached a chamber lit by soft red crystals. In the center stood a stone door. Old carvings covered it. Flames, stars, a woman holding a child. Mira stepped close. Her hand pulsed again where Ashra's charm hung around her neck. Then a voice echoed from the shadows. "Step away from the door, girl." A man emerged. Tall, pale skin, robes marked with the old seer sigils, symbols Mira had only seen in Ashra's memories. Behind him were two others, hooded, silent, hands glowing with runes. Lina stepped forward. "Who are you?" The man smiled faintly. "The ones who built the first seal, and the ones who regret not killing the fireblood when we had the chance." He turned to Mira. "You are the last child of the king, that makes you a threat. I didn't choose this," Mira said. "No one chooses fire," he replied, "but fire still burns." Battle erupted. Lina threw up a barrier spell just in time as one seer launched a bolt of green lightning. Darius rushed forward, blade flashing. Mira backed up, then felt something stir in her again, but this time, it wasn't the Ember King, it was Ashra. The charm around her neck burned bright, her vision blurred, and then, she saw the fight before it happened. Every move, every strike. She whispered, "Silver light," and a barrier of silver flame rose around her. One seer screamed and fell back, hands burned. Another tried to cast a binding rune, but Mira raised her hand. The symbol shattered in midair. Her voice echoed, not hers and not the king's either. The fire changes. The seal remembers. The seers froze. "What are you?" the leader whispered. Mira stepped forward. "I don't know," she said, "but I'm not yours to destroy." She raised her hand, and the chamber walls shook. The stone door behind her cracked, not from her, from within. Red light poured through the gaps. Then a whisper came, not the king's, but something deeper, older. "You are late, child." The second seal wasn't to hide the Ember King's power. It was to trap something worse, something even he feared. And now, it's waking up. The seers vanished in smoke, fleeing in fear. Lina pulled Mira back. "We need to leave, now!" But Mira stared at the door because in the red light a shadow moved. A figure, wearing her face, smiling. The seal cracked open, slow, groaning, like a door that hadn't been touched in 1,000 years. Mira's hand burned where the charm hung. The red light from the chamber behind the seal spilled across her face, and the figure inside stepped forward. Same eyes, same face, but wrong. Wrong. Its smile stretched too wide, its hair floated like smoke, and its voice, "You gave me shape, sister." Mira stumbled back. "I didn't." "Your fire, your fear, he left me here, but you gave me life again." Lina raised her staff. "What is that thing?" Velra's voice answered from behind them. She stepped into the chamber, cloak torn, eyes sharp. "That," she said, "is the Ember King's shadow made flesh, his last weapon, a creature he carved from his own blood and burned into the seal." She looked at Mira, "And now it wants your place." Prophecy time. Velra spoke a line Mira had never heard, carved into the old bone towers. "Two flames shall rise in mirrored breath, one shall fall, one shall steal death." She looked at Mira. "You're not just his descendant, you're his balance. If your shadow rises, you fall." Velra pulled out a scroll wrapped in black iron. "We kill her before she grows stronger." Darius growled, stepping between them. "You're talking about her, a girl, a person." "No, a shadow, and if it escapes this ruin it will take her place in the world." But that night, while the others slept, Mira woke to burning pain in her arms. She looked down. Symbols, runes, carved in flame across her skin, not by her. The mirror self was speaking through her, writing from the inside. She heard its voice again, soft and close. "You can't kill me. I am you." The next morning the shadow was gone, gone from the chamber, the sealed door wide open. Lina cursed. "It's loose." Velra's eyes went dark. "Then the spell won't be enough, we'll need blood." She pulled out a knife. Mira stepped away. "No! We end this without more killing!" Velra's voice echoed. "There is no peace with that thing!" Mira's voice responded. "Then I'll bring it back in!" Velra's voice warned. "You'll die!" Mira's voice resolved. "Then I'll die as me!" Final twist of the scene. The shadow isn't hunting them, it's hunting the seers. They're dying one by one, burned from the inside. It's consuming their magic. And when Mira reaches for her powers again, she hears not just one voice, but two, Ashra and the shadow, both calling her name. The forest had changed. Where trees once stood tall, they now twisted like they were made of bones and smoke. Leaves shimmered like glass. The air whispered, not in words, in thoughts Mira hadn't thought yet. Darius kept his blade drawn. Lina muttered shielding spells under her breath over and over. Velra walked like a storm, cloak fluttering, tracking fireprints only she could see. Mira gripped the charm at her neck. It pulsed softly, and somewhere far ahead, she felt it. The shadow was close. First horror, they found a seer, or what was left of one. His eyes were burned out, but his mouth was smiling. A rune was carved into his chest, in Mira's handwriting, except she'd never written it. She stared at her hand, the skin tingled. Velra looked at her. She's getting in. Don't let her speak through you. She already is, Mira whispered. That night, Mira fell asleep near a blackened tree. In her dream, Ashra stood beside her, kind, gentle. You've done well, she said. Mira reached out. Ashra smiled and pulled out a knife. You've done well enough to die now. Mira woke screaming. Darius held her. Lina's eyes were wide. You screamed her name, then yours. Then came the memory, not hers. The forest led them to a circle of stones. Inside, fire still burned in perfect silence. And when Mira stepped into it, her mind split. She saw the Ember King, not as a monster, as a man. Holding a child, whispering stories, singing lullabies made of flame and moonlight, and beside him, a woman, Velra, younger, human, laughing. Mira gasped. You knew him, she whispered. Velra didn't deny it. I loved him, she said, until he chose war over peace. He lost everything, so I buried it. Buried what? Velra didn't answer, but Mira knew. She hadn't just been his enemy, she'd been his family. Now the seer's army was coming. Velra showed them the vision, hundreds of cloaked mages, blades of light, spells that tore sky from earth. They'll kill you both, she said. They won't wait to ask which one is the shadow. We can't fight that, Lina said. Mira stood up. No, she said. We don't fight them. She turned to Velra. We burn the forest first. Velra smiled, a little too proudly. The forest is alive because the shadow Mira fed it. And when the real Mira begins to burn it down, the forest fights back. Branches move. Roots wrap around ankles. Mirrors appear in the mist, showing everyone their darkest moments. And in one of them, Mira sees herself, smiling as the world burns. She doesn't know anymore which one is real. When the fire touched her skin, Mira expected pain. But instead, silence. She fell through it like water that had forgotten how to ripple. When she opened her eyes, she stood in a room with no walls, just endless reflections. Every version of her she'd ever been, or could be, staring back. She was alone, except she wasn't. The shadow stepped from behind one of the mirrors, barefoot, calm. She looked exactly like Mira, except for the eyes. Her eyes burned from within. You brought me here? Mira asked. The shadow tilted her head. No, we brought us here. This is the place before fire, before fear. Mira looked around. She saw herself at 5 years old, crying in the rain. Herself at 11, lighting a candle and pretending it wasn't magic. Herself the night her father vanished, her hands burning and no one believing her. The shadow walked between memories like smoke. You think you were the girl, she said. The hero. The heart. She touched one mirror. And I was the monster. The leftover. She turned. But what if that's backwards? Mira stepped toward her. You were made from his pain, she said. You were shaped by it. That doesn't mean you own it. The shadow smiled faintly. You're wrong, I remember him. Not the tyrant. The man. The father. I remember lullabies made of stars. His voice when he cried. Her eyes glinted. What do you remember, Mira? Mira hesitated. I remember the stories. The shadow's voice was soft now. So who's the real daughter? Then the shadow showed her something new. A memory even Mira didn't know. The night the Ember King fell, he held 2 infants. One wrapped in flame, one in starlight. He kissed them both, and then he tore one half away. Hide her, he told his allies. She must never find herself. 2 daughters, Mira whispered. The shadow nodded, and one was split. She stepped closer. I don't want your throne, she said. I want to be whole again. She reached out. Join with me. End this war before it begins. We'll burn bright enough to rewrite the world. Mira almost says yes. She sees a future. No fear, no hiding. Power enough to stop the seers, silence the war, end the fire forever. But she also sees something else. Darius's body, burned and cold. Lina turning away from her. The world kneeling, not out of love, but fear. She pulls back. No, she whispers. The shadow's smile fades. You'll regret this. Mira breathes. I already do. Then the mirrors shatter. Mira wakes in the real forest, heart racing, charm still hot against her skin. Velra is there. So? She asks. Did you end her? Mira stands slowly. No, she says. But I know what she wants now. And? She wants to be me. The sky cracked at dawn. Light spilled across the forest, but it wasn't gentle. It was sharp, cold, clean. The seers came like a wave, hundreds of them. Cloaks of ash gray, runes carved into their skin, magic swirling like wind made of knives. At the front, 3 towers rose from the ground, summoned by command. From the top, one voice rang out, "By decree of the Circle of Seers, the witches of fire shall burn." Mira stood at the tree line, charm glowing, hair whipping in the wind. She didn't flinch. She whispered, "Let them try." The forest struck first. Twisted trees pulled themselves from the earth, moving like giants of root and bone. Vines surged like snakes. Shadows warped into monstrous beasts. The Mirawood had become the Shadow's kingdom, and it was hungry. Seers cast bolts of white fire, freezing parts of the forest mid-roar. Lightning spells lit the sky. The trees screamed. Lina and Darius fought back to back, holding the left flank. Velra stood still, whispering something into a black stone in her palm. Mira stepped into the firelight, then the sky opened. The shadow rose into the air, surrounded by flame that didn't burn, only warped. Around her, pieces of the forest floated, drifting like ruins caught in wind. She looked down at Mira. "You could have ended this gently." Mira rose to meet her. "No," she said, "we end it now." And the air exploded. Mira and her shadow hurled magic at each other, fire slamming into fire. But Mira's power burned gold now. Ashra's light awakened inside her. The shadow twisted flame into shape, wolves, swords, walls that screamed. Mira shattered them all, but each strike hurt, because it felt like hitting herself. On the ground, Lina faced a seer commander and stopped cold. He pulled off his hood. "Aaron?" she breathed. He was her old mentor. He had taught her how to cast her first ward. He raised his blade of light. "I'm sorry, Lina, but she must die. Both of them must." Lina didn't move. Not until Darius threw himself between them, blood blooming across his shoulder. "Move!" he hissed, "or he'll kill you!" Lina's heart cracked. Then she raised her staff, and answered fire with thunder. Meanwhile, Velra whispered faster now, her voice lost in the chaos. The black stone in her hand glowed red. Darius yelled from the field, "What are you doing?" Velra didn't look up. "If the girls fail, this will end everything." "What is that?" She looked at him. The last true seal, made of a soul, my soul. Darius froze. "You'll die." Velra's eyes flashed. "Better me than her." Back in the sky, Mira faltered. The shadow slammed her with mirrored fire, cracking her shield. "You're breaking," she said softly. "Just let go. I can't." "Why? What's left to protect?" Mira looked down, at Lina, at Darius, bleeding and still standing, at Velra, who had once wanted her dead, now preparing to die for her. She smiled. "That," she said, "them." And then, she let go. Of fear, of doubt, and her fire turned white. The shadow screamed, she twisted, changed, split, her body shattering into pieces of flame and smoke. Mira reached out and grabbed the center, her heart, her memory, and held it tight. As the shadow fell, something else rose from the trees, a being older than the Ember King, the one he had feared, the Watcher below, and it had used the shadow to break the seal. The final war was never between Mira and the Seers. It was to keep this thing buried. And now, it is awake. The forest cracked open like a skull. Roots tore free from the earth. Trees shattered, suspended in the air like bones pulled from a corpse. The sky turned black, not with night, but with forgetting. The Watcher rose from the ruin. It had no shape, only eyes, thousands. Blinking, bleeding light, and from its mouth came silence. Where it walked, people forgot their names, their spells, their love, their selves. Velra fell first. One moment chanting, the next, blank. Her name lost, her body hollow, her soul pulled like thread into the void. Darius screamed, but even he stumbled, forgetting where he was, who he'd sworn to protect. Mira stood in the center of the storm, flame rising from her hands, hair whipping, eyes wide. And the shadow, broken but not gone, whispered beside her. This is what he feared. Mira looked at her. You knew? I was born from it. I was made to burn it. But I wasn't strong enough alone. The Seers turned. Their leader, Aaron, stepped forward. His hand trembled. His magic sputtered. We need her, he said. The girl. The witch. No, said another. She's part of it. Mira stepped forward. I'm the only one who remembers the seal. They stared at her. I need you to help me build it again, or none of us will exist. Together they worked. Seers and witches. Magic of light and fire. Of ice and song. Of time and tears. Mira drew the runes with her blood. Lina cast spells with her broken voice. Darius held her when her legs gave out. Even the shadow offered what was left of her soul. And the Watcher screamed, a sound that turned birds to ash, that made the world flicker like a dying candle. But it wasn't enough. Mira knew, to seal it fully, someone had to burn. Not the Watcher, her, not just her body, her story, her fire, her name. She turned to Lina. "If I go," she said, "remember me." Lina shook her head. "There has to be another way." "There isn't." She turned to the shadow. "Ready?" The shadow nodded. "I was always waiting for this." They stepped into the center of the storm, hand in hand, two halves of one flame, and then, Mira let go. She gave the fire back, to the world, to the memory of Ashra, to the dream of something better. The Watcher shrieked, light shattered, time bent, the forest caught fire, and then stilled. When the smoke cleared, only ashes remained. Velra, somehow alive, rose coughing from the edge. Lina knelt in the center holding a small glowing charm. Inside it, a flicker, a heartbeat, not gone, not forgotten, just changed. Years later, children would speak of the witch who burned the sky, of how she gave up everything so the world could remember itself. And if you walked far enough into the new green woods, you might hear her laugh in the leaves, or feel warmth in the wind, the fire that remembers. The Witch Who Became Light. Subscribe to our YouTube channel.